Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Foxy98 here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2020 My Team career mode for you guys today here on the channel. We are here for the Austrian Grand Prix Season 2, and as you can see, we kick things off with a podium celebration party. But if you end up enjoying today's video, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well, as we try and make our way towards 20,000 subscribers on this YouTube channel. But as you can see now, we're going ahead and just quickly swapping out all of my newer components for my slightly worn components to go in towards practice with, as I'm just basically trying to make use of every single part of the car possible. As you can see, I was trying to have a look at the driver perks and see when I can actually go ahead and get level 3 on those, and I've got to basically wait until I am driver acclaim level 15 in order to achieve that. But as you can see, Sergio Perez's market value here has dropped down to 8.05 million, which was rather interesting actually. So it does mean that if I was to re-sign him, obviously, which we've got our contract renewal coming up at the end of this race, he'll be a lot cheaper. So yeah, that was kind of something I was just looking at and thinking, okay, this is rather interesting. But as you can see, in terms of the finances, we're not doing too bad on that front. We've got 18.3 million in the bank. Going into the race weekend, though, as you can see, we're going to have a look at the updated R&D graph, because that graph is way out on what it is. So let's go and have a look at the actual graph. So here we go then. So powertrain, we've got the best powertrain, pretty much level Mercedes-Benz on that front. Chassis-wise, we're again fastest on that front, level pretty much with Renault. And then in the aerodynamics, we're comfortably the fastest on that front. And we've got a front downforce upgrade on the way, which will make us even further in front in that department. So lots of positive things to come out from this. And as you can see, in terms of the R&D graph, we are pretty much at the top. We are at the top there. Mercedes in behind, Renault very close in behind. Ferrari and McLaren also closing on Renault. But as you can see then, Drivers' Championship, we are comfortably clear in the championship after a very good string of results. Had a couple of DNFs here and there, or well, I say a couple, we've had one DNF here and there. Perez had a bit of a rough start to the season, starting to pick up some form now with the second place in 2/3. So hopefully he can try and maybe go one better and get his first victory for the team. But as you can see, in terms of the rivalry there with myself and Vettel, that is currently 20 points to 15 in my favour. We're doing a very easy job on that front. But we've actually finished practice now. So I'm going to go ahead and get the final minor upgrade left on the chassis side for the weight redistribution. So we're going to put that onto the car. And it should come for the British Grand Prix if I was reading it correctly. And then that means that we're just down to the major upgrades then that we'll need to place onto the car moving forwards. But we're going to head into qualifying now here at the Red Bull Ring. Traditionally a track where, again, the AIs are not quite the strongest, so you should be able to get away with some strong performances. Into our first qualifying lap here, it's very wide on the exit of turn 9. Now turn 10 here, across towards the start finish line. Leclerc is a 102.3. We crossed the line and set a 102.2 to go fastest in qualifying for Q1. Of course, though, it is just Q1, so that's all we're waiting for. And as we cross through to complete the end of Q1, it is the fastest lap time by a 1/10 of a second, with Sergio Perez just 0.3 of a second back. Very close qualifying though, because in the relegation zone was Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri, 0.9 of a second shy. So it just goes to show that the grid is very, very close. Moving forwards though into our second part of qualifying now. The checkered flag is already dropped here, and we need a good lap to get us through into Q3. We've been very competitive in qualifying so far. As we come towards the start-finish line now here, we're going to go ahead and set a 1 minute 1.5. That was a sensational lap there in Q2. A mighty effort there. I wasn't expecting to get into the 101s, but we did. And we've trumped the field in Q2 there with astonishingly quick lap time. No one getting anywhere near that benchmark there. And Verstappen and Vettel and Albon all out in Q2, which was a bit of a shock there, but what was a shock was my pace. So let's see if we can try and replicate that into Q3. Then we go. Can I get anywhere near a 101.5? Going in towards the last corner here, I kicked the curb a little bit in there. Hamilton sets the fast lap for 102.0. We crossed the line and we only set a 101.7, so 0.2 of a second down on our previous best lap. But here is my best qualifying lap of the weekend. Let's go and ride on board with this lap. and they crossed the line then to what was 1 minute 1.3. Wow. I just fell in love with the car, fell in love with the setup that I made, and fell in love with this track and smashed it in qualifying. In fairness though, actually, Bottas and Ricciardo also got into the 1 minute ones as well, with a 1 minute 1.8 and a 1 minute 1.9 from Daniel Ricciardo. So yeah, that wasn't even a super clean lap as well. On the exit turn 3, we got a little bit of wheel spin, and then into the final 2 corners, the penultimate corner, I actually braked too early. Took way too much curb, and then towards the last corner, again, broke too early and took too much of that sausage curb. So there was a couple of tenths still to find in there, which just staggers me, but, you know, it is what it is. And yeah, you know, I've been following a lot of videos recently about setups and how important they are on this game, and genuinely, if someone is running a setup and they're like a second a lap slower than you, and they're running a setup and you're not, they probably will end up beating you. That's how key setups are. And I've started to see how the setups tend to work on this game, and I have actually started remaking my own again. I was initially using some other YouTubers' setups, but I've gone back to making my own, and using what they used to have as a guideline, and then just creating my own. One of the big things, as I always mention, is use the practice programs wisely. The advantage of doing the 100 lap challenge in a whole weekend does mean that I have to do a lot of laps in practice, and it does actually mean that I get a lot of practice, as it says, so I can really use the setups. And the setup I made around here, it just worked. It was so nice to drive, but we've got a race still to do. That's the main important thing. So let's get straight into the grid then. You can see all the grid flowing out through here, and Magnussen is the only man to take a penalty. He takes a 10-place grid penalty for the Racing Point team there. It's not a bad track to do it at. It's very easy to overtake Austria, so he should be alright with that one. But into the race then, it's going to be a one-stop strategy. So the soft to the hards, and then that is us done to the end of the race. So let's get straight into it then. And it's time for the Austrian Grand Prix. So here we go then. On the grid here, we're going to rev up the car. 5 red lights, and it is a longer light sequence than usual. And it's now lights out, and we go here and away. And it was actually a better start initially on the reaction there to Bottas. But our amazing traction off the line gets us through towards turn 1, and we can blast away from the rest of the field as we're going to ride on board. Ricciardo now has jumped Bottas into second place now. Perez has dropped behind Ocon there, so that's a bad start for our teammate there, who's dropped to 5th now. But for us, though, it is a beautiful start to this Grand Prix. We've got clean air in front of us, and we can press onwards now into the distance. Yellow flag in the background there, so someone probably damaged their front wing. Plus, that hairpin tends to cause a little bit of a backlog, so that's probably another reason for it, as they now go down in towards the middle sector. And we can blast away now. Let's have a little ride on board then. So you can see here, car full of fuel, so we need to be careful of that. So obviously we're not going to be taking as much speed through here, braking a little bit early compared to what we would have done in qualifying. But so far, the fastest middle sector, a little bit wide through here now as we enter through towards the end of the lap now. Taking a little bit of curve on the outside before we take in towards the sector last corner. Here, you'll brake around about the 50-meter board in race trim. Still a little bit understeery in the early phases, but eventually as the tyres warm up, that's very understeery in fact, going super wide on the exit there. Eventually, the car will start to gel into it, and we have a 1 second advantage as we cross the start-finish line. Moving to lap 5 of the Grand Prix now, that 1 second advantage quickly opens up to a 3.2 second advantage. We were very, very fast in this race, especially turn 1. It was surprising to me what type of line I could take into turn 1. I don't know if I show it here. This is my line into turn 1. Very simple line through there, but you can take a hell of a lot of the inside curve. And through there is where I gain pretty much all of my time. Again, on to lap 6 of the Grand Prix now. We open some ERS here. And we've got a yellow flag actually in the background. So someone has had a problem. Looks like an Alfa Romeo car. That's not quite the right line to take for. That's actually quite wide through there. As Kimi Räikkönen is out of the Austrian Grand Prix. And it looks to me like a mechanical failure. So something, I mean, that Alfa Romeo, not only is it unreliable, but it's also extremely slow. And that really doesn't help. In fact, as Kimi wants to pull away, where the camera can't see the car because it's just that useless. So, unfortunate there for Kimi. But as we move on to the 12th lap of this Austrian Grand Prix, the tyre wear is up to 62%. I was going to try and stretch it out a little bit longer, but clearly, one thing about running my type of setups that I do is that I am actually quite aggressive on my tyres. So I'm definitely going to have to look at building in some more tyre upgrades in the future, just to allow me to go a little bit longer on my stints, or maybe, you know, do like a soft medium rather than a soft hard. But for now, though, Ricciardo and Bottas actually stay out for another lap, and that actually brought me into question. Was it the right idea to come into the pit straight away? Because remember, I've always said this, flashback to when everyone else has pitted for hard tyres, and then I've pitted a lap later off of the soft tyres. And comparing the pace comparison, there isn't really much in there, and this is quite a bit of a worry here, because Danica Fiat gets very close to us there. He's got a slipstream and DRS attack here on Stroll. We're going to have to slot in behind here, now towards the hairpin. This is going to be quite worrying here. I actually just brake very, very late, take a lot of inside curb there, and just, well, muscle my way through. I literally did not want to get held up by those guys for any longer than I necessarily had to, and Fiat now is out of the way. Sainz is up the road. 1.8 seconds clear. It just depends on how long he's going to stay out for now, and this will give me a good indication of what my rivals do. But onto lap 14, start lap 15. Looks like my main rivals are actually pitting. So Bottas pitted. He's onto the hard compound side. But this is our run towards turn 1. Just look at the amount of performance that we can get under braking and then through corner and acceleration. Now as we open up the DRS here, I don't even need to use overtake mode because there's just no need. So as we go in towards the hairpin here, we can brake it nice and late down the inside on Sainz. A little bit overdone on the brakes there, but we do manage to make the corner, which is the important thing. Bit of wheel spin on the exit just for some style points, and that's us up into second place. Now Vettel should be coming in at the end of this lap, so we won't have to worry about him any longer. Lap 24 of the Grand Prix now, and life is cool out front. Life is very, very cool. But what I noticed actually is Charles Leclerc there is on the medium compound tyres. Now, that to me would signal a 2-stop in this race, as we're actually just showcasing some clips of me getting past all these back markers. Shout out to Jack Aiken, my former teammate, was useless, so I got rid of him. Now as we go through and towards the middle sector here, I was actually carefully monitoring what Charles Leclerc was doing. Gasly here pulling over to one side, allowing us to blast on through here in this Grand Prix. But yeah, he was the big concern here. That's a little bit too deep through there. Be careful of that one. But now we'll open up the DRS here on Nicholas Latifi and get past him. In fairness, it must be said, this was kind of late at night, and I think Sam was wondering whether I had some sort of mental brain problem during this race, because I really was in a complete, really weird round when doing this. But, you know, it is what it is. Now as we can press onwards, the gap between myself and Ricciardo is 14 seconds at this stage. So we've got a very comfortable lead out front. But again, Leclerc, though, is only half a second behind Perez. And this is when I decided to go and have a look at what Leclerc was up to. A lot of the cars had done soft medium in this Grand Prix. And I was fascinated by that, actually. So for me, it's lap 27 of the Grand Prix. You know, you can do 11 laps on warm, soft tyres. So I was actually thinking, what is Leclerc doing? He's actually overtaken Perez now here as we start lap 30. And I was actually very curious now, because this kind of gave me an indication, even though we're out front having the nice, cleanest race possible, I was actually looking and thinking, I actually went to go back at Leclerc again, and I was like, right, hang on a second, when did Leclerc came in? So he came in at the end of lap 15 to start lap 16 for a set of medium tyres. So he extended his stint by an extra 5 laps or so compared to what we did. And that gave me the full-on indication that if we're going to, you know, find some more weaknesses of this car, I think it's going to be the tyre wear, because it's definitely not as strong as what Leclerc's doing. I mean, Perez has actually just got back past Charles Leclerc there to retake P4 of this Grand Prix. Those mediums are going to go off now in this stage of the Grand Prix. But we're on to the final lap now of the Austrian Grand Prix. And this was actually my fastest lap of the entire race, funnily enough, because as I was pushing on, I actually put some rich mixture on to see how I get along. And then Daniel Ricciardo decided to go ahead and take the fastest lap away from me by about 6/100ths of a second. I was upset, so I just said, do you know what, I'm going to leave this car in rich mixture. I'm going to use as much overtake as I possibly can, and I'm going to go and reclaim that fastest lap. So let's see if we can try and do it then, as we go in towards the middle sector here. Tyres are definitely going off now in this stage of the Grand Prix, obviously with the last lap now, but we are literally burning through the ERS as we go through in towards the middle sector here, dropping it down to 5th gear to get the rotation in on the front, as that part of the car definitely going off now again. In towards 6th gear through here. Could have probably dropped it into 5th initially, just for a short period of time to get the rotation in, but I decided against that. Using up the ERS now, so go through towards the last 2 corners here. Braking nice and late through here. Had to take a second jab at the steering, but it's alright though. As we go down in towards 4th gear, pulling it towards the start-finish line. We're green on our Delta. I'm out of ERS. We cross the start-finish line, and we have won the Austrian Grand Prix, and we reclaim the fastest lap on the final lap of the race with a 1 minute 4.597. Carlos Sainz actually gets driver of the day for McLaren, so GG's to Sainz for that one. And yeah, very impressive drive from him here today, should we say. Celebrations though for the Force Koreans, because let's just have a little piece of the track. Yeah, sure, yep, this is awesome. This is great. Yeah, this is exactly... Okay, there we go. But as you can see then, we'll jump out of the car and celebrate with that one in 5-star with a beautiful race victory here today. And yeah, the car was absolutely phenomenal. The setup that I made was absolutely dreamy. It gave me everything that I needed. I had plenty of straight line speed. I had phenomenal corner speed as well. And it was just the outright perfect setup today. And yeah, couldn't be any more pleased with it. Shout out to me in looking at setups in a lot more detail. But like I said, that's the one advice that I can give to you guys, is that you can genuinely gain up to a second's worth of lap time performance if you just take the time to understand the race setups. You know, I looked at I started off with Tom 97 as his setups. They didn't work for me, so I moved to TRL Limitless's setups. Some of his setups worked for me, but some of his didn't. So I decided to use Limitless's setups as a baseline, and now I basically understand why he runs those setups. Now that I know setups, I can go back to making my own personalized setups that help me. Because a lot of setups, a lot of people don't like to lean on the car, be aggressive in turning. I'm someone that can be very aggressive on turning. I'm not very smooth with the turning angle. So I need a little bit more aggression in there. I need a car that sort of sticks with me a little bit more than what others do. In the Drivers' Championship, though, 88 points now at the top of the championship. A very comfortable lead now at the start of this season. It's pretty much... yeah, we're in fine control here with Sergio Perez now up to 6th in the championship as he overtakes Charles Leclerc. Constructors' Championship, that's a 79-point gap now between Force Career and Mercedes-Benz. And it's now down to Claire to give some high-quality, juicy intel. It's just an interview. It's nothing crazy. But was it a comfortable win? Yes, it was very, very comfortable. And I actually wanted to go ahead and credit the downforce because the car was just absolutely planted to the circuit today. I don't know what you mean by it wasn't the cleanest race today. I'm sorry. Like, what do you mean? Like, I started on pole by nearly half a second. I smashed it, right? And you're going to give me this? Nah, I'm not having it. Not at all. But in the rivalry with Vettel, that is now going up. Sergio Perez, this team driver acclaim, actually shoots up there to, well, just above level 13. And you can see there that we actually achieve pretty much now solidifying ourselves as team acclaim at level 18 with a £1.4 million payout, which is absolutely lovely. We love a little bit of payouts there with, oh look, surprise, surprise, I took the damage deductions. Whip-de-doo, okay. Up to 21.2 million at this stage. Now, we have got to go to the team headquarters and do our contract renewal with Sergio Perez. But as I was in this moment of the video, obviously I was talking in a party chat with Sam. I have enough money to try and sign Lewis Hamilton. And I was comparing some stats because, first of all, Daniel Ricciardo has been absolutely smashing it. So I decided to compare the stats of Ricciardo and Perez and think, actually, maybe I could go and get Daniel Ricciardo. But then I said to Sam, shall I just try and get Lewis Hamilton and see what happens? So Sam was like, yes, do it. It'll be a laugh. So I'm just going to go ahead and approach him. You know what? Why not? I've got the money. So I was like, you know what? Lewis Hamilton's my favourite driver. So I was like, I literally just went, sod it, I'm approaching. So let's see what happens. You know, this happened. He actually accepted my approach. So I'm now going to go into a bidding war with Mercedes-Benz for their star man Lewis Hamilton and try and sign Hamilton for Force Korea. So we're going in now with the bids. We've got a balance of £14.7 million. We've got a bid of 13.7 something from Mercedes. We're going to come in with a 13.7 for ourselves now. Let's see, the deal is finalising. Mercedes coming with a 13.8. I'll go in with a 13.95. What will Mercedes do about that then? Will they go ahead and take that deal? Finalising, we're... oh. Yeah. You're probably wondering why the title of the video is OMG, we actually signed him in full capitals. Because we've just signed Lewis Hamilton for Force Korea. I don't care if you hate this guy and you want him never to exist in Formula 1. He will always be my all-time... He's 100 rated! Lewis Hamilton, 100 rated, has joined Force Korea. Bye-bye, Sergio Perez, because I now have a Lewis Hamilton in my team. That was genuinely just a bit of bants. The approach was accepted. I just went for it, and it worked. And now, all of a sudden, I have got the GOAT in our team. And now, we can have a proper fight now. There's no more talented drivers that you can back me up. I've got a Hamilton-Rosberg style team now. We need all-out competition. We need all-out war. And we actually can't do any upgrades because I don't actually have enough resource points. I think I'll do a durability the one though. Maybe. I don't know. But guys, Lewis Hamilton is part of Force career. If you guys have enjoyed today's video, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel as we try and make our way towards 100. I was about to say 100,000 subscribers. That's never happening. 20,000 subscribers by the end of the year. But for now, guys, I'm out. Take care, all. Peace.